South Carolina runs the SEC.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. Happy Friday. You made it through the week. Congrats. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tap in today. I'm Kalia Butler. Alongside me is Sophia Jones. We're really excited to get into some of these games that happened last night. I mean, this whole week of games has just been an absolute treat. But starting things off has to be that Texas and South Carolina game, which the fourth quarter was really when I was like, everybody stop talking to me. I need to be locked in on this. It's getting really serious. But South Carolina, currently ranked second, defeats Texas 68-65. Texas had moved into that number 4 position after their loss to LSU. And now this is their first back-to-back loss since 2022. Texas has played South Carolina twice this season, with 2 games being decided by a total of just 5 points. We know Texas beat them last time, but Texas now coming to South Carolina, trying to beat them at home. It was going to be a difficult victory to come by.
It was, and it was an uncharacteristic game for both teams, quite frankly, specifically when you look at the turnovers. Both of them had 20 plus, so it was very chaotic. We both know that these teams are very intense defensively, and that was really highlighted with Texas's full court pressure that gave South Carolina a lot of issues inbounding the ball. With South Carolina, their on-ball defense and just picking the ball and getting fast breaks the other way. But South Carolina, they just were the more composed team down the stretch. But specifically, Raven Johnson was the one that really helped the Gamecocks land the plane. She scored or assisted on 12 of South Carolina's 20 fourth quarter points. She had 2 really huge buckets that essentially helped to seal the game for South Carolina, but she was the one whose seniority really was showcased that game.
Yeah, that's exactly who I wanted to really highlight for this game too, because I feel like in this one, South Carolina was basically like, listen, meet us in the fourth quarter. You know, it was neck and neck the whole time, but Raven Johnson's really the one that called game. And I just want to read out some more of her stats you bring up. Her impact in the fourth quarter. She made the difference when it really mattered most. She was scoring. She was assisting on 12 of the Gamecocks' 20 fourth quarter points. She finished with 10 points while handing out a team high 6 assists to move it to number 5 for her all-time career assists in program history. She spoke afterwards. She was the player of the game to talk to. And you look at in terms of the stat line, she wasn't necessarily the leading scorer, but when you are scoring the most points in the fourth quarter, when they need the veteran leadership the most. And what I love is that even though she wasn't having an overly efficient offensive game, she was having a great game still. But I love that Coach Staley was drawing up plays because she knew that she needed to get it to her senior guard. She was going to be the one to get a clutch bucket when they needed it most. And I think once at some point in the fourth, I can't remember exactly when now, but she hit a really, really tough floater essentially. But that opened it up. Then Tessa Johnson came in, hit a big 3. Okot came in, and then she had hit a 3 in the game as well. It was just absolutely spreading everything out, but that was really because of Raven Johnson being able to put pressure on Texas's defense.
Exactly. She is the archetype of a player that her impact can only truly be measured by people that are watching her play and that know basketball, not solely looking at the box score, because you look at the way she really controlled the tempo offensively. Texas was showing so much backcourt pressure. They were pressing them full court, like I mentioned. Having Rory Harmon guard you is not an easy task in order to have ball security. But Raven Johnson, she executed there, doing exactly what a point guard should. And then defensively, she was taking she was guarding multiple positions. We saw her take chances guarding Madison Booker. We saw her guard Roy Harmon, even Jordan Lee, but she was just all over the floor. And she was really the one that, like we've been saying, helped South Carolina really seal this game.
Yeah, South Carolina was shooting 50% from the field in the fourth quarter compared to Texas shooting 36%. That's really when they came alive, essentially neck and neck the entire time. Leading scorers for South Carolina, Joyce Edwards, she came in, had a 14-point game, 8 rebounds, and she hit some really needed free throws kind of late in the game as well that helped them create some separation. But I also want to mention Tessa Johnson in this one because I feel like she's always kind of a silent killer when it comes to South Carolina. She's also another player that's going to come in and hit big shots when you need her to do so most. She was 3 of 4 from the 3 in last night's game. And this wasn't necessarily an overly efficient 3-point shooting night for either team. So when she came in and hit some of those big buckets, it kind of continued to push the momentum South Carolina's way, which helped them too.
Like you said, neither team really shoots high volume from the 3. So it was more of a pack the paint game plan for both teams. But when you have a player like Tessa Johnson on the floor, she really keeps the defense honest, helps to provide a little bit spacing so that players like Joyce Edwards, Raven Johnson, or Tanaya Latson have more opportunity to drive and attack. So she was really influential. Another player that also guarded Madison Booker. And I think Dawn Staley's strategy of switching defenders on Madison Booker was probably the best game plan because you want to show different coverages to disrupt her rhythm as much as possible. She still finished with 24 points, but it could have been a lot worse if she would have had about 4 more points. That's Texas's game right there. So definitely credit to South Carolina's defense on her. But like you said, it was definitely a team effort from South Carolina. And circling back to Joyce Edwards specifically, she drew 10 fouls that game. She was 8 for 9 on the free throw line. Those 10 fouls were huge because it put a lot of Texas players in foul trouble. We saw Jordan Lee foul out. She's their best 3-point shooter, so that shrunk the floor even more for the Longhorns. But she also put a lot of pressure on their front court, which caused them to play a little more conservatively. And for Joyce Edwards, she makes everything look so effortless. She runs the rim runs so well. One time she had a great block. She picked someone in the backcourt and then dove on the floor. This isn't stuff that you're typically seeing from your front court players, but she makes it look so easy. But I'm really enjoying seeing some of that dog start to surface more out of her.
And that's when we see South Carolina being at their best, when they can really play through those front court players because they are so versatile and they do all the little things well and they contribute in ways like you mentioned. She did have a couple of really significant blocks too that kind of just killed Texas's confidence to a certain extent. I mean, when she's coming behind you and basically pinning you, I would also be like, damn, like, now I got to get back on defense. But for Texas, I think what interested me most is we've seen Vic Schaefer have some really good late game execution. He has beat Dawn Staley before. We obviously have seen him put together at Ole Miss and all that stuff, being able to understand how to go up against her. But I felt like some of the late game buckets for Texas did seem a little bit forced. I do think they tried to get it to Madison Booker as much as they possibly could. They were getting within like 5 points. They were trying to get some quick 2s. They weren't very efficient from 3. They only went like 1 of 9 the whole game. But I was curious about some of the plays that were drawn up. Maybe that was South Carolina's defense, but at the same time, Texas, I felt like kind of rushed at the end. And then there were kind of like a couple seconds left at the end of the game where it was still like 18 seconds. They didn't really try to force a turnover or anything. Everybody just kind of started walking to their benches. And that also was them waving the white flag so early when there is still time to maybe get a bucket was also very interesting to me.
I know the exact play you're talking about because South Carolina inbounded it. They were on their side of the court. But like you said, with about 10 seconds remaining down by 3, South Carolina wasn't completely money from the free throw line. They finished the game only at 69%, 18 of 26. So you could have fouled and took your chances. And with a player like Madison Booker, who has hit a lot of big time shots in her career, even for Rory Harmon, who more so is a 2-point threat, but she's the one that had the game winning basket against South Carolina in Las Vegas this season. So I did find that also an interesting choice. But for what we've seen Texas, and this is also just coming off of that LSU loss as well, where it was really close within their reach, but just struggled to close it at the end.
Yeah, we will see what they can do against Texas A&M on Sunday. South Carolina will go up against Coppin State. They're going to play an HBCU team this weekend, likely due to MLK weekend. We've seen them do this before. So it'll be a little bit of a switch up for South Carolina in the midst of SEC season. But coming up after this, we are going to get into some ACC play. Louisville is looking good, and we told you guys pretty early. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season so much more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. And if you're someone like me, you might want a little dessert. You might want some Cheez-Its for a little crunchy added flavor. You just need something to calm you down. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. I don't like paying rent, and I bet you don't either. But Built makes it a little bit better. Built is the loyalty program for renters that rewards you monthly with points and exclusive benefits in your neighborhood. So let me explain. With Built, every rent payment earns you points that can be used towards flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and just so much more. And here's something I'm really excited about. Starting in February, so coming up here soon, Built members can earn points on mortgage payments for the very first time. Yeah, soon you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners. Personally, I would redeem my points for Core Power. I'm a big Core Power girly. I went to Yoga Sculpt yesterday, and I would love to get some extra points while I'm there alongside my fitness journey. It's simple. Paying rent is better with Built, and soon owning a home will be better with Built too. Earn rewards and get something back wherever you live. Join the loyalty program for renters at joinbuilt.com/locked-on-women. That's JOINBILT.com/locked-on-women. Make sure to use our URL so that they know we sent you. Time to get into some ACC play. Another big one last night. Louisville beats Notre Dame 79-66, handing Notre Dame their first home loss this season. The Cardinals were looking very strong from the jump and just kind of continued to sail through. They led by 6 halfway through the second quarter, and then went on a 7-0 run and just essentially never looked back after that. They're now 7-0 in the ACC and are currently 4-0 on the road this season. As I mentioned, this was Notre Dame's first at-home loss, and they were just on a 10-0 at-home winning streak entering this game. So Louisville came in your trap, took over your trap, and now they're moving on.
Exactly. Louisville has looked so solid all season long. They were very well tested during their non-conference season. You talk about that 7-0 run in the second quarter that they essentially never looked back from. I thought that the game shifted during that run when they were able to speed Notre Dame up. They forced a lot of looks, and then Louisville would just push in the other way with some of their guard play, even their front court players. They can all handle the ball. So they just like to get it out and go. But for Louisville, all season long, their depth and contributions off the bench have been one of their biggest strengths. And that was really highlighted this game. They got some major contributions in that area, specifically from Raina Scott coming off the bench, leading to a total of 31 points for Louisville, which when you're looking at Notre Dame, they only got 2 points off the bench. So that is a really big difference maker and a key separator for the Cardinals that I think is what makes them one of the best teams, if not the best team in the ACC right now. Just looking at some of the players coming off, you have Raina Scott, Amari Bailey, and Skylar Jones that are pretty consistent rotation players that there's absolutely no let up once those extra players start coming in for Louisville.
Yeah, and I hate to be a broken record on here, but Notre Dame's lack of depth is their Achilles heel, because we've seen this essentially in every loss that they have had. They have had less than 5 bench points. They don't really have anybody else to rely on. And when Hannah Hidalgo comes in, has another 24-point game, leads them offensively. But Louisville did do a really good job at handling the ball, handling Notre Dame's defensive pressure too, because they only had 8 turnovers and limited Notre Dame to 7 steals on the night, which is the lowest steals the Irish had recorded this season as they entered the game, averaging 15 steals per game. Hannah Hidalgo only had 1 steal after leading the country with 5 steals per game. So that also takes Notre Dame a little bit out of their typical identity too. We understand how much their defense allows them to get out in transition, get some fast break opportunities. They don't love having to sit in the half court and really make something happen. I don't really think that's Hannah Hidalgo's game either. She's somebody that likes to play fast. She's not necessarily overly facilitating. We did see her not necessarily have to handle the ball as much last night, but you can tell in some of those small changes, there's just a lot of fresh faces to Notre Dame. And I think Hannah Hidalgo is obviously the veteran leadership here. But when the whole team isn't clicking defensively, you can see the game starts to slowly slip away from them.
Yeah, and again, just talking about with Louisville's backcourt depth specifically, Notre Dame, they always tag Hannah Hidalgo on their point guard or their best perimeter player, or whoever's bringing up the ball. And so Louisville, they get the ball, they look in front of them, see that Hannah Hidalgo's guarding them, and they just pass it off to another guard. So they're not having to bring it up against that pressure every single time, which, I mean, it stalls a lot of what Notre Dame wants to do in forcing those turnovers and scoring off of them. But I actually felt like Notre Dame's decision to start Hidalgo off the ball more with Vanessa De Jesus running the point worked out solid for them. They were right in the game in that first quarter. They kind of were switching leads with Louisville as well. And it was Moore and Cowles that generated the offense to begin the game. The ball got to the second, third side, more half-court offense forced the game to actually slow down a little bit, which took away Louisville's strength of playing in transition. But I felt like starting Hidalgo off the ball and then getting the other teammates involved then in turn opened up the floor for her more to create and just with getting more contributions overall. But when you're going up against a team like Louisville, that magic sauce just wore off, I think probably by about the third quarter.
To me, Louisville right now is equivalent to Indiana football, where there's not necessarily these big name stars on the team, but they have a lot of depth and everybody does their job very efficiently. And this is how they continue to remain dominant in the ACC right now. Sorry to everybody that is rooting for Miami. I'm not rooting for another ACC team, so don't get mad at me about that. But Louisville will go up against another tough opponent at NC State. We obviously know how well NC State has done at home. They've had their ups and downs through the season, but Notre Dame is going to have to get to practice expeditiously because they have to take on number 1 UConn on Monday in Stores, Connecticut on top of it. So they have a tough run ahead of them.
They do. I think for are starting with Louisville. They just need to continue to do what they've been doing. And NC State was a team that started off the year with really high expectations, and then that cooled off. But once you get into ACC play or just conference play in general, where these teams know each other, these coaches have gone head to head numerous times, there can be little aspects of each team's games that are picked apart, and that's where it turns into a coaching battle. And so you just don't want to put anything past that matchup. As for Notre Dame, like you said, I think they just really gotta. I don't even know what advice would be best. I don't know what would be best when you're taking on UConn. It would just, I think for them, if they can just lock down defensively, get back to forcing those steals, applying a lot of pressure, and just slowing down UConn, that would be their best shot.
Yeah, you never know. This could be a good game, and we don't even know it just yet. But coming up next, we have more good games to talk about that you should be aware of coming up here soon.
The new year is here, and it's a perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the new year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for you, for your style and budget. They mentioned work from home setup. Obviously, we do a lot of podcasting, so I spend a lot of time in my home. I love making use of my rent. And so your home is your sanctuary. You got to make sure that it is a vibe, it's aesthetic, it looks like your Pinterest board. So get organized, refreshed, and get back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
I love that, making use of your rent, because especially when it's cold, where else would I really be besides my home? So might as well make use of it.
Exactly. Like, why aren't you doing this? Because I'm making use of my rent. Exactly.
Exactly. I think I lied to you guys because sometimes my brain goes left and right. Who knows? But I meant to say we're recapping some more games that had just happened. Illinois went up against Michigan yesterday. Michigan defeated them 85-69 in Ann Arbor. Olivia Olson for Michigan was the leading scorer. She had 21 points, was really dominant in the first half, built an early lead up against Illinois, which a team that's also looking very good. But we've seen Michigan kind of continue to rise in the rankings. I think when we were most impressed with them was when they had that tight game against UConn. What do you continue to like about this team right now?
That sophomore class that they have with the players, Olivia Olson, Mila Holloway, and Silas Swords, are so strong, and just offensively, they can go. I think you look at players that have great motors and can shoot and just play make on a balanced way. And that's exactly what I see in this class. But they also have some great length, especially around them. As much as they can put up some outstanding offensive numbers, they can really lock down defensively. They held Illinois to only 40% shooting that game. So really getting it done on that end of the floor as well.
Yeah, for Illinois, Barry Wallace had a 26-point night. So obviously a really strong competitive game for Illinois. But Michigan, I think, as you mentioned, when you have that sophomore trio, they're really hard, especially at home, to go up against. And their offense is difficult to try to overcome. They've maintained the momentum throughout the game and just wasn't really allowing Illinois to claw their way back in. Another good one, Nebraska and Michigan State. Michigan State won by just 2 points, 73-71. What did you like most about that game, Sophia?
Just that late game execution again. Michigan State is another team that has flown a little bit under the radar, but they are another team that offensively can really turn it on. They shot flat out 50% from the field this game, and going up against a Nebraska offense where our Nebraska defense that has been more so their call to fame and a large reason of their success. To put up these same offensive numbers is a huge piece. But for Nebraska, there have been a couple matchups that they've dropped just due to poor late game execution. And I think that was unfortunately what got them again this game, and Michigan State just took advantage.
Yeah, Michigan State really cemented the paint as well. They had 46 points in the paint. And you mentioned too, Nebraska defensive identity, but it has come down to who can kind of, what you were mentioning earlier, who can kind of coach better at the end, who can execute better in these late game situations. And you kind of have to be on your P's and Q's in the Big Ten because the game can slip away from you quickly. Another good one, Iowa defeats Oregon 74-66. Hannah Stolke in that game, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. She's just shy of a triple-double, but she had a really great overall game. Addison Deal is the one who stood out for me in this game, though. She had 18 points, almost perfect shooting, 7 of 9 from the floor, but she was 4 of 4 from 3. She hit some of those threes really early on in the game, and truthfully, it kind of set the tone for how the rest of the game was going to go. Oregon kind of just couldn't claw their way back after that. And, I feel like I've seen in a lot of these games a lot of momentum swings. Once she was feeling it, she was darn near shooting off one foot. I was like, oh yeah, this is her bag today. So Iowa was feeling it. Everybody was clicking. They had some really great contributions from, we have 4 players that were in double-digit scoring, so a well-balanced attack for them.
And that is what Iowa's identity for, or I guess in this post-Caitlin Clark era, has been, just balanced scoring. This game, it's Hannah Stolke. We've seen before, sometimes it's Ava Hayden. I was happy to see Kylie Feuerbach back on the court. She was out a couple games due to injury, so she's another big one. We've seen what Chit Chat Wright can do as well, but Iowa shooting really well from the 3. You mentioned just starting off on the right foot or Addison Deal starting that off on the right foot. We love the Maureen Johannes one-legged 3-pointers. They finished shooting 42% from 3. And for Oregon, they continue to be in all of these Big Ten games. They're really, really gritty team that has shown time and time again that they're still there to compete.
And just a quick mention, Unrivaled is going to play today. Sophia gets to see these games live. The Laces and Phantom will go up against each other, as well as the Rose and Hive.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see everything in person, catch some players, some good basketball. I just feel like the 3-on-3 is already so fast, and it's going to be even faster in person.
Absolutely. Well, that will do it for us today on Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you so much for tuning in with us this week. We can't wait to catch you up on everything on